Like, you breathe wrong, you're not cooling it properly.
Oh.
It will change the results and change
That's too
the
much
colors
anxiety
you're getting.
for me.
We can't make yellow because Mercury's in retrograde.
What? For real? I'm not even joking. Like, you guys are laughing. I'm being dead ass serious.
And welcome back to another episode of the Rally Black Project with Chris and John.
Hey,
How's it going?
it's going.
How you feeling?
Okay.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm not dying, but I definitely don't feel like good.
Hence the Kleenex. on the table.
Kleenex is still here.
Yeah.
So I have a sinus infection, and I've been on meds for I don't know how many days, but like it's helping, but not as quickly as I had hoped.
Right.
So yeah, I'm here.
You're here.
And congested.
Yep. We made it through the storm.
We did.
Luckily,
man,
it didn't.
that thing was fucking massive.
Yeah, it was
like,
crazy.
It was supposed to come straight for us, and if
Right.
it did,
Kind of, yeah.
I mean, I would have been really, really worried about our house.
Yeah, for sure.
So
seeing the
we
pictures-
didn't fare well with a tropical storm with a lot of rain before.
Right.
Just because there's not a lot of places for the water to go on our street.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, especially when if it's been raining for a few days prior,
that's
which
what I
it
mean.
was.
Yeah.
And it was first what was gonna be at most a 2, and
It
then
was 2-3.
and then it turned into almost
Almost
a few
like
miles
short
shy of a 5.
Yeah.
Which
and
is the
apparently when it gets that big, like the numbers don't really matter.
Well, right.
To a
Once
certain
it gets
extent.
5 is the highest. Whether it goes
Right.
into potentially a 6 if you follow
Right, yeah.
the increments, or a 7, it'll stay at 5. Because I think Dorian was a 5, but in reality, according to the measurements, it would have been a 6 if it existed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely a lot. Seeing the cars in Naples.
Oh my God, floating.
Well,
and we go
you
there-
saw them bobbing in the video,
Yeah.
which I've never seen. And
Yeah.
I working in news, seeing
Right.
flooding and all that. I've never
Yeah.
seen cars just bobbing in the wind like that.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Well, and I mean, we go there. So my mom has a house on the West Coast.
Right, and your aunt lives there,
Right.
full time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we go to Naples regularly to meet my mom in the middle, kind of. And yeah, just seeing everything in Naples, just literally under feet and feet of water.
A few weeks ago, we were at the Collier Museums.
And that's
And that was
in
all
the thick of it.
I hope I hope everybody.
Yeah.
It was just.
Right.
I hope it was just property damage.
Yeah.
Because I mean, losing a house is a
there's
lot,
been-
and it's crazy.
The counts keep going up.
Yeah, well,
Unfortunately,
yeah,
there's been
'cause-
12 deaths.
Right.
And,
Right. Communication is hard because the cell towers are
we
down.
had a moment where we couldn't get a hold of my aunt.
Right.
My aunt lives on the West Coast, kind of near Fort Myers. And we had
Just
all heard
north.
from her before bed, and then
Right.
hadn't heard from her the morning of. Although she did try to call my mom, but my mom, when she answered, the
Right.
call didn't connect.
It's almost.
And it's good
worse.
and bad. Yeah, because it's is she calling for help?
Right.
Or
is she just
calling to check
okay.
in? Right.
Right.
And so then there was a couple hours there where we were, where we were freaking out because it's if power and cell is down, how the heck can you find out if someone's okay?
Right. You rewind back to before cells.
Man, which is it's not a good time. I don't like it. Sure, it's good when you're camping and you choose to.
Right,
but
right.
in this situation,
it's forced
it's the
upon you,
worst. Yeah. And then, it could be days, if not weeks in some scenarios where people get power back and it's can't wait that long to make sure your family is okay.
And Tampa was super prepared before Myers wasn't, because it was supposedly it was supposed to miss them.
Yeah.
And go to Tampa.
And
so
then
everyone in Tampa was
a day or two before was okay, here you go. And then it was almost
it's almost like
you
Ian
had to choose right then.
Right. Ian realized that the rent was higher in Tampa than it was in Fort Myers. So he said, I'm just going to Fort Myers.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So thankfully, she's okay. We think that she lost her pool cage. There's a pond that she's not super close to that was literally right, behind her. Her street is flooded. She can't leave until the flooding goes down. She has a couple roof leaks, but all in all, she told me today that she feels very lucky.
Right. Especially when you see some of the damage.
Oh my God. And the video that she had sent my mom of like just the creepy sound of that wind just like literally tearing everything apart. And so she's lived in Florida for 16 years, and this is the worst storm that she's ever been through, which, I was telling her, I was like, I like those odds being like a new Florida person.
Right.
But yeah, it's hard, but thankfully,
contrary to popular belief, we don't get hit all that often
and that hard
right. It's usually like it'll come for us, and then it'll, like this one did, it'll kind of like make a last minute juke,
right.
The worst ones are in the Gulf because when it moves, it still hits us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll be leaving for a few days this weekend.
And you know that it's now it's heading for South Carolina.
Yeah,
it's strengthened back up to
because it hit back in the water
up to a 1.
Yeah.
So if any of our listeners are there, like we're thinking of all of you because I mean a 1 or not, like again, the one time we had to leave our home was for a tropical storm. So just because it's only a 1 doesn't mean anything because the flooding is what.
Well, and it also depends on the storm because some storms are windier than others.
Right.
Some are wetter than others. It all depends on how, and then like the pictures of the reverse surge were crazy to see, like docks just empty and you see the seagrass like exposed.
We're like a half a mile and you couldn't see like any water in the ocean.
So the pictures are crazy. All that we're thinking of everyone in Georgia and wherever.
Well, and anyone who was hit in South Florida, I hope hope you're
Florida,
okay. Yeah,
not even South Florida.
That's
Florida.
what I mean. Yeah. Because the whole state got something.
Everybody got a little taste of Ian.
And then, like you mentioned, now this weekend you're
right. I'm heading
leaving.
out for the aftermath coverage.
I'm not happy about it, guys.
But it could have been worse. I could have been leaving for the actual storm.
Yeah.
So
I said no to that.
Right. I said no to that too.
Okay, good. Because it's one thing. Like I'm from Colorado, so I don't do well with hurricanes. Just one, because they're new to me.
Right.
And like they're just not fun because they're so unpredictable.
Right.
And it's like, do you over prepare? It takes a lot of time and energy and stress. And then like, being home with now 2 kids and then you're off reporting in it. It's like I'm alone and I have to be responsible and like take care of other humans. Like, so it's bad enough that you have to go to work and not like hunker down with me.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so thankfully you're just going for the aftermath. But I'm not looking forward to it because this is a little shout out to you, but you're a really good dad and you're hands on. Right. And so when you're gone,
the hands are off.
The hands are gone. And I need more hands. And I don't have enough hands. So and just my anxiety makes everything more dramatic than it really is. And I usually end up getting through it fine. But like my mind going up to it is like, how am I going to do this or what am I going to do this? And as you know, when I went out of town, that's when Jackson decided to wake up almost every night. And, that's it's just how our luck works.
Yeah, that's how it's gonna be.
There's going to be some shit that's going to go down just because that's how it is. Yeah. But, so you stay safe.
I will.
And you check
Everything will be done.
You check in as often as you can.
Yeah, that's going to be the hard part. And hopefully because I leave on Saturday, so hopefully they'll restore some cell service. I mean, Lynn was able to talk to you today, which she wasn't yesterday.
Yeah, she was able to text me today. So
things are getting better. Yeah. I mean, so we'll see.
I was talking to your cousin, Anais, and her husband works for FPL, Florida Power and Light. Yep. And so he often goes out for this kind of stuff
we're very
too.
Similar, yeah.
And so I was complaining that you were going to be gone for 3 days this weekend. She was like, gone. Miguel's going to be gone for like a week. And I was like, oh, I'm like, it's so rough. And I'm like, I don't know how we do, right? Thankfully we do.
It's like army wives.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I was like, I don't know how single moms and military moms do this, because like I'm sitting here freaking out about 3 days, and people do this all the time, 100% by themselves.
Right.
And she was like, yeah, we're really fortunate because we have like great men. And I said, yeah, we're definitely spoiled. So don't be gone long. If they want you to stay an extra day, the answer is no. It's not enough money.
Well, I don't want to stay a work week. I'm only leaving because Saturday and Sunday shows are a lot less.
Right.
And someone was like, oh, don't you think they're going to add in more shows? And I'm like, I don't think so, because they can't break into programming, especially on Sunday. It's NFL.
Right.
So they're not going to do that. But anyway, so I'll be gone. And at least I got the show in on time.
You did.
We
pretty
stayed
impressive.
Consistent.
Yeah.
With storm coverage and everything, I stayed consistent.
Yeah. And the kids were home 2 days, so I'm super behind on work. So if you're waiting for me on anything,
Ian, blame Ian.
I'm sick, and Ian. Yep.
Yeah. So let's get our guest on the line.
All right.
Be right back. And we're back with our guest, Alex from Laser Everything. How's it going?
Hey,
super good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
No, thanks for coming on and spending some time with us.
Yeah, of course, anytime.
So tell me about how you got into the laser world. What were you doing before? And then for those who may not know you, at least from my following, you're more in like the fiber side, right?
Yeah, we definitely focus on galvo lasers over at Laser Everything, mostly because that's where the demand is for content. There's like a million people out there with YouTube channels about CO2 lasers and gantry lasers. So, but galvo lasers, at least when I started, they're getting more popular now.
Yeah.
We're kind of a mystery. So that's really where our focus is. But I did not get into lasers doing YouTube. In fact, before I started working with lasers, I was selling weed on a street corner in California. True story, in front of this vape shop.
Yeah.
So there's this vape shop on the corner. It's kind of a shady part of town, College Ave in Santa Rosa, and so I started selling weed, and then the guy who owned the vape shop was like, "Yo, you're here all the time.
Yeah.
Do you want like a job or something?"
Right. You want to just work here?
I was like, yeah, dude. I was like, yeah, like chill, vape, like nicotine. I'm down. So, so I started selling vape stuff for him, and a few years went by, and I had a really good relationship with this guy. I was one of his first employees. He started selling vape stuff out of his garage, and like came up. It's a whole nother story.
Right.
But eventually, he was like, you know what people really want on their vapes? He's like laser engraving. So he started doing research into fiber lasers, so that he could get a fiber laser and start marking on vape stuff to personalize it. So he ends up getting like a $50,000 30-watt laser from a company called LMT in Michigan. And
I'm always impressed by people who just like go balls to the wall with like their first.
He's just one of those guys. He just like pulled money out of like thin air, and he just like had it. But it turns out, no one wanted their vapes engraved. It was not a thing. That was not a thing that people wanted at all. I don't think we ever sold one engraving on a vape ever. So he's sitting there. He's just spent $50,000 on this machine,
and no one wants to.
What the fuck am I gonna do with this? So, more time passes, and eventually he gets this idea that he's going to like start a laser engraving business, know? And so he spins off of the vape business and he starts a company called Sonoma Laser Engraving. And he brought me along for the ride because I was interested in it. I'm a nerd. I like tech and stuff like that. And we figured it out, man. He did it out of the back door of the building of the vape shop. So like people were like coming in with like their wedding stuff to the back door of a vape shop, like bringing like their knife and cake server and shit. And we figured it out. We had no idea what we were doing. We thought $50,000 lasers from Michigan was like the norm. At the time, I just can't even. So we got eventually in like an AP laser we brought in, and then he didn't like that because he's he likes nice things,
Mm. obviously. Yeah.
So he swapped it out for an Epilogue.
Aren't AP lasers like one of like? Aren't they like fancy? I thought they were.
They're fancy-ish. They're Ruida based controllers, So it's like a mid-range like resell laser, but I still think it's an import. He wanted like built by American hands in like Kentucky. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of guy that he is. Right. So he swapped it out for an Epilogue, so I learnd on this like $50,000 LMT laser and an Epilogue like Fusion Pro. So I worked for him for 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. This is a long story. I'm sorry.
No, this is the stuff that we like.
Yeah, for sure. So I worked for him for 4 or 5 years. I figured out laser engraving in general. That was where I did the bulk of my like hard, because it's an uphill battle when you start. It's not like I'm just going to slide into this. So that's where I kind of got that done. It was a very advantageous place to be.
Even as you can see in your story, the good thing about lasers and the bad thing about lasers is that you can do anything. And so when one thing doesn't work, you can try something else. And you barely even touch the surface, with the vape thing. And then now you just randomly go into the wedding and cake stuff and all that. Like it's great, but it can be overwhelming if you don't know like exactly what you want to do in the beginning.
Yeah. And I think, so my time at Monroe Sonoma Laser Engraving was especially advantageous because he ran it like a job shop. So every single person was bringing in something unique. He wasn't like buying stuff in bulk and selling it online marked or anything like that. Yeah. So there weren't like products. We were literally helping like customers in Sonoma County with their projects. And that background, I feel like, was really the basis for being able to start the YouTube channel at all. Right. Because I got exposed to all of this difference. Everything was a challenge every day. Yeah. We weren't trying to perfect any one thing. It was definitely like a jack of all trades approach. Right. But yeah, so one day in like 2019, he just like comes into my office and he's like, "Hey, I'm moving to Georgia in 2 weeks and the shop's closing."
Wow.
Okay. So that was the end of my like paid apprenticeship, if you want to call it that. So my wife and I got together and we were just like, we've been wanting to move back to the East Coast for a while. California's on fire and all of the houses are $600,000.
Right.
So we'd been wanting to move back to the East Coast for a while. So we moved, and she got a shitty job, and I was like, I know this business. Right. I know the price points. I know the machines. I know the like lasers. There's stuff out there that we can get and start right now. And we had moved in with my mom. We didn't even like have an apartment yet. We were just like literally showing up and like just kind of restarting from scratch. We had a kid. So she gave me the green light. She worked like a full time and I spread it around on the credit cards, Right. And I picked up an OMTech, just a really crappy like red and black OMTech. I don't even think it was a real OMTech. It was like an eBay.
It's like a knockoff
It's a knockoff of a clone. Yeah. So it's like a knockoff of a knockoff of a knockoff off eBay. I spent like $2,000 on it. Way too little. Right. And I got a fiber laser from a company called Mactron, which is probably the best decision that I ever made. Yeah. Because it leads to a lot of good things happening to me later. But we opened up in my mom's garage. I cleared all her shit out of the garage. We threw it in the basement. I hung up a big banner that I printed on Vistaprint.
That's awesome.
Monroe Laser Engraving. I copied everything from Michael because Michael had his shit together. He was a good businessman. Yeah. Right. And so like his company name was Sonoma Laser Engraving because we were in Sonoma County. So I named mine Monroe Laser Engraving. Yeah. We were in Monroe County. Nice. And, like his email address was whatsup@sonomalaserinengraving.com. Mine was whatsup@monroelaserinengraving.com. Nice. I ganked his order forms. I ganked everything, everything. Right. And of course, I talked to him about it. I was like, dude, hook me up. Like I'm trying to start my own thing. Right. You're in Georgia. He doesn't care. He's like 2,000 miles away or whatever. So I had a really good kind of jump start there too, because I just left his and then came right into mine. Right. And we ran our shop. Well, we ran our shop for 2 years. It was profitable. It wasn't, you don't get rich doing a job shop stuff.
Right.
But we ran our own schedules, and that was nice.
Yeah.
And it was enough that we got a small office in a neighboring town, and we did business out of there. And especially during COVID, I signed my lease for that shop on March 1st, 2020.
Oh, man. So did you know about COVID yet, or did it, or was that like soon after?
I mean, so I think they like started like locking stuff down.
Talking about it.
It was like March 15th. So like we'd been in there for like 2 weeks at that point. And we, my wife knew better than I did. I was like, it'll probably be fine. Whatever. She's like,
2 weeks.
It's going to be really bad.
It's only going to be 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Can you?
We'll flatten the curve. We're just going to flatten the curve.
Think about that. Back to 2 weeks.
I hope we don't get like taken
God.
off of this. YouTube doesn't strike us on this one, but
right?
Yeah, it's like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I remember
just
gotta flatten the curve.
I can make it through 2 weeks. It'll be fine.
Who can?
2 years later.
Right, exactly. And but we made it work. We made it work. Especially New York in particular had like this rule. I know it's kind of maybe similar in other places, but like if you had customers like in your store, you had to close. Like they shut everything down.
Yeah.
Like, they closed businesses. So I was literally like, people were emailing me and I was like, leave it on the porch.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was like, leave it in the atrium or whatever.
Yeah.
And we stayed open during that time. And we made it work.
COVID for me is what literally took off my business. My best-selling month was still July of the year that COVID happened.
Of 2020.
Yeah. So I mean, like everyone was buying online because they couldn't freaking go anywhere unless you did it underground, So
and then good luck finding those places.
Mm-hmm.
That's the irony of it too, is that like I came from this job shop background, so I didn't know a thing about online sales. That was not my, you know what I mean? So we did it like at the shop, and we still made it work. And like that kind of proved to me though that like you can do this.
Yeah.
Like especially like you now can do this in today's world, because I did it literally like through COVID, in person, physically, without the internet. And so, we made it work. And then it was slow though. It was hard. It was very slow. There's a point to this story. I know it's very long, but there's a point to it. So it was very slow. And I was bored. Yeah. So I made a YouTube video, I was like, throw a YouTube video up. And I think I was like marking like Romark plastic or something stupid like that. Or no, we were engraving a gold bracelet with the fiber laser. It was a little gold bracelet.
Listen, watching a fiber laser do anything is solid content because I could watch them all day. I don't have one. I want one. Yet. We don't really have the space for it yet. I'm gonna get one eventually. I could literally watch them engrave all day because it's just it's so entertaining. Like how it goes, like the sound it makes, all of it. It's solid content for sure.
Dude, I've been watching these fiber lasers do their thing for 8 years and I'm still not bored of it.
Right. Yeah.
I still just sit there and I just want to like stare at it. Right. But I threw this video up. It was 2020. I threw this video up and then we did business for a year and I came back to it and it had 75,000 views.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
And I was like, I should probably do more of those.
Right,
There's something here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we started going hard in 2021 and it got to the point where like we didn't need to run the shop anymore. So we closed the shop and that's awesome. Now we're Laser Everything. So
well, fast forward to how many followers or subscribers do you have on YouTube now? 20 something, 7,000 and change. That's awesome. Yeah, 27,000 and change in about a year. Wow. That's great. Well, again, there's a huge like vacuum, of like this kind of content, and especially there's a lot of people that own fiber lasers that upload YouTube videos, but
you guys know, like, producing content takes
it's so much. There's a lot that goes into it, and depending, like, for us when we were doing it, we weren't on YouTube until just a couple months ago with the studio, because
to be honest, I fought it for a while.
What?
Going video wise, and
because of the extra work and stuff. And I mean, we were recording on our couch, literally in our living room on our couch,
audio only.
And I mean,
it doesn't look like it right now, but I'm in my baby's nursery. It's like
that's a pimp nursery,
right? Like, that is a pretty pimp nursery.
I know, yeah, dope, right? But yeah, the work first of all, and then on top of that, right? We have a lot of people. I'm trying to say this nicely. I'm trying to be nice.
It's okay. Don't be nice.
Yeah. A lot of people think that they're personable, but they're not.
Right.
You know what I mean? And there's a lot of content out there on topics we cover on Laser Everything where you're like,
yeah, it's painful. Sometimes. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So for both of those reasons, there's a vacuum on that kind of content. I think a lot of laser content out there is consumed because there is no alternative.
Right.
There isn't anything better. There isn't anything with a higher production value.
Right.
Not all of it.
Yeah.
But a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're trying to bring, I think, laser engraving, laser marking, laser cutting, whatever, kind of up to the rest of YouTube's standards.
Right. Yeah.
That's kind of our goal, you know, because you can go out and look for an engineering channel or a makeup channel, a beauty channel, a tech channel, and you see, like, YouTube. When we think of YouTube channels and YouTube creators now, we think of like high budget, high budget, like YouTube creators, content creators. And I don't think that really exists in the laser space outside of like diode stuff now. So
I agree.
I feel like it's hard because a lot of laser. So you got lucky enough to take off on YouTube and shut down your shop, where other people still have their shops open. So it's like, where do you find the time?
Managing the two.
It's like, how do you create content? How do you edit it and still keep up with orders and designing and everything like that?
And like us, I mean, we did it for free for like how many months before we were monetized?
Even now, shout out to our Patreon patrons. But even now, it's like, it's still like, we did it because we liked it and we wanted to, but not because it was like, people think that like if you don't know a lot about like podcasting and YouTube, it takes a while before you get paid for what you're doing. And it takes a lot of work and practice and, all those things to get there. They think like, oh, you have a podcast, you make all this money. And it's like, it's kind of the opposite sometimes until you get to that certain point,
Even when you do get to that certain point, the work doesn't go away.
No.
But So, I mean, we did it for free, essentially, while, we were getting started. And we certainly had a more rapid climb than maybe other channels because we were covering Galvo content, right? And there was such a vacuum for that. But, I was working like 80, 90-hour weeks to pull that off while running the shop. And I wish that I could say that that's changed at this point now that we've closed the shop, but it hasn't.
It just
other
shifted.
Things have just filled that time. And we had our second baby was born in November last year. And
ours
I worked
was born in July.
Nice. Yeah. Congrats.
Thanks.
And we worked at the hospital. Like, I had my laptop. We were working at the hospital. I was like on like our Discord, like answering questions and like trying to like reach out to people on Facebook that needed help and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It never, like, literally never stops.
I took 4 days? 4 days after I had him, I was in my office making cake toppers and other shit for like friends that, because I had him 2 weeks early. So I thought I had time. And so now, when I had him and then I came home and I had a really rough pregnancy. And so as soon as I had him, I felt like a whole new human. So I was like, I was ready to go back to work because I hadn't been able to work in the capacity that I wanted to going up to that. And I was totally on Facebook in the hospital, in labor, like answering questions and, it's like you can't, it doesn't leave you.
It doesn't. And, twofold. You know, there's part of you that's like, if I don't do something, like my whole business is going to disintegrate.
That's what it feels like. Yeah.
All the time. It always feels like that, even though that's not the case. It's totally not true. That's just anxiety. But the other thing is like I hate like leaving people on red, essentially, when it comes to like helping them with their shit.
So hard for me.
It's like, if I feel like if I don't help these people, they're fucked.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I just like that. It feels so heavy on my shoulders all the time. So, you know, I try to just stay as active as I can with that. And we have a lot of stuff that we need to manage, but I'm pretty sure this isn't why you guys brought me on to talk about this kind of stuff.
No,
today,
I mean, it is actually.
It's
so
your
like,
story.
I mean, our format is less on the like technical side. I mean, sure, some of that like sneaks in, but this is really to like anybody who's just starting out. Like, you know, you don't have to necessarily go into it. Like, sure, business plans are great, but like you don't have to go into it knowing exactly what you're going to do it, and then be successful at it. Like a lot of us found lasers on accident, and it's so curious. Like, it's so interesting to hear someone's background of like how they got from point A to point B, because like a lot of people may see where you're at now and think, oh, he's always done lasers. This is exactly what he wanted to do. Or, you know, this was like his plan to have, you know, this laser empire, you know, whatever. Like it doesn't happen that way, you know? No. And I don't know if like what, role your wife has, but I drug him into it. The laser thing has been all me. When I told him about a laser, and he was like, "Nah, that shit's expensive."
I kind of did it to myself because I wanted to start a podcast.
Right. Well, he came to me and he was like, "Oh, any laser podcasts?" And I was like, "Not that I know of, not in my world." And you know, he was like, well, let's start one." And then go ahead.
Oh no, totally. My wife chose between participating in this nonsense or like working at, you know, CarMax, or I think her last job was car insurance agency. She was doing like insurance stuff. Yeah. So she picked this.
Right.
But and she's my wife. Shout out to my wife, Miranda. She's the reason that we are still here today, because she is like the business person. I just make videos. You know what I mean? I know how to turn a camera on. Otherwise, I'm a big dumb rock. She literally, like, she does like all the legal stuff, all the business stuff, all the paperwork, all the like finances and things like that. Just that's her brain, you know. Just some people have a brain for that kind of stuff.
Totally.
I do not. I'm just like, whatever, you know, like we'll figure it out. It'll be fine. And she's like sitting there like doing numbers and like you know, that kind of stuff. So she's the only reason that we still exist, because I definitely would have driven us into the ground at this point, had it not been for her.
Well, and that's the hard part too, is that like you don't think about all those other pieces that come with it. You're just like, oh, I want to make things because they look cool, or lasers are cool, I really want to try it, or you want to create content, but you don't think about all the stuff that happens in the background in order to like make that happen. One, like you said, all the hours that you have to put in when you're not necessarily like getting paid hourly for that, like a normal job. The legal stuff. I remember when I set up my design course, and I had to like have all these like legal disclaimers on my website, and I was like, oh, I didn't even like that. It just didn't even cross my mind. And so, there's a lot that goes into, I mean, I have a bachelor's degree in finance, and I really suck at it. So like, you know, I had to hire like an accountant because I kept procrastinating, and I'm like, it was not getting done. So I had to like pay someone to do it, even though technically I have this little piece of paper that says that I should be able to do it myself. Right. So, you know, you don't think about all that. And so like, it's a lot, but like if you can figure that out, and like the stuff that you don't know, you get help either from, you know, spouses, friends, you know, local businesses and stuff. And I know this is kind of left field. I know that I'm supposed to be saving my tips for the end, but no, put them out now.
If you are listening to this, guys, get a bookkeeper.
Yes.
Like yesterday.
Do it.
Find somebody. I have a local guy that I really like. There are like online services and stuff, but like meet somebody. He came to my shop. He like looked at our business and how it was being run.
Yeah.
And now when I buy shit, to this day, I have the same bookkeeper. I've had him since day one.
Yeah.
I literally just, if there's like a dollar sign on the paper anywhere, I just email it to him. I'm like, bye. Like,
right.
I don't even touch it. I don't read it. I don't look at it. I just forward it to him.
Yeah.
Get a bookkeeper. When you're starting out and your like your volume of transactions is low, you're not buying a lot, you're not selling a lot.
Right.
Like it's like $35-$40 a month.
Yeah,
like,
no.
It's really not that much.
Even mine, I think it's gone up since I started, but I think I pay $175 a quarter. Yeah. And I don't have to think about any of that shit. They do all of like my, my financial paperwork. They file my taxes for me. They file my quarterly like sales tax for me. Like she does all of that for me, and I don't have to think about it for a second. I just have to send over my statements and receipts and stuff, and that's it. And it's amazing. So yeah,
Miranda asked me too. She's like, "What do I do with this?" And I'm like, "I don't know what it is. Just send it to Sean." And then his wife Allison is a tax accountant, so she does our tax. So literally, Sean just hands the whatever. I don't even know because I've never touched it. To Allison, and then my taxes magically get done, and that's that. And she charges like $500 a year. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be.
No.
This like huge expensive thing.
Right.
Like you can forgo a Red Lobster a month or whatever to like have a bookkeeper. It will give you so much more time
and peace of mind.
Because I think a lot of people get so caught up in like, I need to like be a business. Do it all.
Yeah.
You're not making anymore. You're not making anything. You're just like doing business stuff, and that is a massive waste of time if you're creative. Yeah, massive waste of time. Don't waste time on that. Go get a bookkeeper.
Well, and especially if you're not
talking about, but
especially if you're not good at it. Like, I mean, so I got the degree because it applied to what my current job was at the time, but not because I really wanted to go into that profession. It was just like, this is a free degree. I kind of have to take them up on this opportunity. Yeah. And so it wasn't something I had a passion for. I honestly fucking hated it. And like testing and like the last few years of school were so hard because
you were pregnant.
Well, yeah, I was pregnant and I couldn't retain it. Like, because I just didn't care about the topic. I didn't care about, what I was learning. So I couldn't get it to like stay in my brain. I was literally like,
math fucking sucks ass.
Yes, it's awful. I hate it.
Nobody likes math. Come on.
Yeah. And so like, tests would be like this stressful, like shove it all in there, hope it stays enough so that I can just pass. Like literally my chant towards the end was like, C's get degrees. Cause like they do. And I still got my degree. And especially towards the end, my grades were not pretty, but all I wanted to do was, there was one class that I got a D in and I didn't fucking care because it technically meant I passed because it wasn't, I don't think it was, it was like macro or microeconomics. Man, that was one of the worst classes in my life.
You know what, dude? Congratulations to you for fucking graduating.
Thank you. It took me 11 years.
Dude, I said the same shit to myself all 4 times I dropped out of college. I was like, D for credit, baby, and then like it's like F's and W's like all the way down. Right. I was such a fucking screw up, dude. Like school was not for me.
Well, school wasn't for me.
I wish I realized that sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like I get it. Like it totally wasn't for you either.
True.
But you like still did it.
I don't know. I don't know how, because I don't
determination.
I mean, I don't finish a lot of things to completion. Like I'm a ADD, anxiety all over the place. I don't know how many unfinished projects and plans and all that I have. So I think it was just like what I did was, which is good for like business and life in general, I broke it down into one class at a time. So
a little bit one time.
So like I didn't think when I started, which is a good thing, I didn't do the math because, I was working full time at an office job. And so I only had time to go to school part-time. And so, and I also refused to take summer classes because summer classes were even more intense than the regular classes. Like you took one summer class and it was like the equivalent to taking 2 or 3 classes because they were just so compact. And like, I'm glad I didn't do the math because had I known that it was going to take me 11 years, I would have never fucking started. I would have never like even thought about it. And now it's like, okay, you know, I did it and I graduated and like crazy. I brought my husband and he was like 1 year old maybe at that point.
Yeah, because we were when
I
graduation.
I graduated.
Yeah, just over one because we went back.
Yeah.
Because we were already.
But yeah, so I mean, it taught me that like as long as I'm determined, no matter how long it takes, I can do pretty much anything. But it also taught me, at least for my kids, that like school doesn't necessarily like matter. It does, but it doesn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, you know, you don't have a college degree. You have your...
I have like a vocational certificate.
Yeah.
But I have like 20 years in the business now.
Yeah.
So.
But like hard work
I don't know
is
jack
where...
shit, guys. I barely have a GED. I barely have a GED.
Well, that was the other thing is I almost didn't graduate high school. I did basically it's the equivalent of a GED, but I did get a high school diploma, but only because I was going to be a second year senior if I like stayed in high school. Yeah, because I hated school since 4th grade. It was not for me.
School sucks. Yeah, school sucks. And, you know, it's not, it's definitely not, you know, if you don't love school, that's okay.
Right.
I still love learning.
Right.
And that's a key difference, you know, like.
True. Good point.
If you want to fuck off from school and just be an idiot,
right?
Like that's not what we're talking.
No,
you know what I mean?
Definitely not.
I love learning. I just wanted to learn the stuff that I wanted to learn.
Right.
I think that, you know, like electrical engineering is really cool.
Yeah.
So why the hell am I going to sit here in English class and learn about Shakespeare? I don't give a shit about Shakespeare.
Right.
Exactly.
I want to play with power supplies. You know what I mean? So like that's and I just kind of ended up like teaching myself the things that I need to know because it is the 21st century and we do have the internet and you can learn about whatever the hell you want to learn about.
Yeah.
So,
you know,
like
I grew up wanting to take shop class.
Yeah.
Like to work on cars.
Yeah.
It didn't exist.
What?
In my high school, there was no like shop class.
Huh.
And that's all like, you know, because growing up, you see them. Well, I grew up in the, 90s. So all like the school
19th century.
The late 19th century. No, 20th century. The late 20th.
Oh.
Yeah.
you know, like that, the 19th.
Yeah.
Going way back.
Going way back. They didn't have cars then. No, but yeah, growing up in the 90s, like you saw all like whenever it was like a school thing, you saw shop class.
Yeah.
So I was like, I
meant
can't wait
1900s, by the way. That's
late 1900s. Yeah,
because it's fucking young ass kid saying born in late 1900s.
Well, I mean, we were 2020, 2022. Okay. Anyway. Yeah. So I wanted to take. I was like, I can't wait to go to high school to take shop class. Didn't exist when I went to high school. There was no like automotive class. There was like woodworking. There was like a shop class where everyone made speaker boxes.
The people who in my high school who were doing like automotive were doing those
magnet programs.
Yeah, it was called like Pickens. It was kind of like it was like a vocational school, but like they allowed high school students to go there and get like credits that were also like could be like college credits or whatever.
We had a Toyota program, but it wasn't like part of the school.
Right.
You know, it was almost like having work experience, only you went to that school instead.
Right.
But it wasn't like your typical like taking, I don't know, whatever elective.
Yeah.
In high school.
We had that too, but it was only for the fuck ups. So like you had to like fuck up out of like regular school and
to
then
get
they
the
like
fun
provided
school.
that to you as an option.
You know what's funny is that was you were considered that because again we had the Toyota like partnership in high school, and yes they were like looked at that way, but a lot of my friends that worked they have their own shops now,
right?
And like they have they work for like themselves essentially.
Yeah, it's like breaking the stigma of like of schooling and like those kinds of jobs, you know what I mean? Like
just because you break your back every day doesn't make you a loser,
right? Yeah,
if you're breaking your back for yourself.
I think, man, like, and this is going to turn into a podcast about school, but like, dude, if I was given the option to just study like electronics out of high school, you know what I mean? And it was like, okay, you are really interested in this and you're really good at it. Your brain is wired for this. No pun intended. Like, I would have been doing something successful a decade earlier with my life.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I just didn't get that. I didn't get that opportunity. I had to like make that opportunity for myself. And while I was on that journey, figuring that out, because there wasn't infrastructure to get me there.
Right.
You know, I looked like a fucking loser.
Yeah.
You know, I looked like an idiot and a loser, and like everybody's just like, why don't you have a degree? Why don't you go to college? You know, like all of that could have been avoided if
I agree.
things were designed to like, you know, find what people are interested in and what their aptitude is, and then like give them a path towards that.
It's like they are, but they aren't. Like you know, they have those classes, and like that's how you figured out that you kind of had like an interest or that you might be a good fit for TV. Those like tests where they kind of figure out, you know.
Yeah, but even that wasn't with school.
But then there's no well, but then there's no like follow up, like, and then like I realized in school that I loved the classes that let me be creative, like pottery and photography and all. Like when I realized that I needed to test out of school, basically I had to go through another program. I honestly wanted to stay in school and just take my electives and continue to do pottery, continue to do photography, because I loved those classes, but I hated all the other bullshit, the history, English, math, algebra, all that. And I couldn't. I had to take like at least 4 or 5 classes, and I was like, nah, I'm out. And so, you know, I tested out, and then I worked at a grocery store. I mean, although, you know, I was a manager by the time I was 18 and making decent money, I thought that was my life, because I couldn't figure out, you know, it wasn't like a thing, at least in my world, that you could make money and have a job that paid all your bills doing something creative. And so for me, it was always like, oh, you can kind of like sell that on the side, or you can make a couple bucks, or you can be
always the hustle.
Yeah. And so it can be your side hustle, it can be your hobby, but it could never like be my job, my career. Yeah. And I mean, that's how it started, was doing t-shirts that I thought I was just going to do for my son. And then, you know, it snowballed into what it is now. But I hope, at least, you know, with us doing this, we hope to then project that, or like teach that to our kids, that like, yes, sure, you need to do good in school, graduate high school, you know, whatever. But I'm not against like online schooling, getting their GED, if they have a drive to do something else. You know, that like, you're not going to just be like a loser and
you're not just sit around
get
the
out
house.
of school. Yeah. But it doesn't, I don't think like they have to go to college and get a 4-year, 5-year degree. Like, if you have a plan and you like know what you want to do, or something you at least want to explore, like if
we didn't support that as parents at this point, we would be the world's biggest hypocrites.
Totally. Yeah.
Totally. You know what I mean?
Well, I hope that we're showing them that. I hope that we're like giving them that example, that like, you really can do whatever the fuck you want to do, as long as you, you know, work hard at it, and almost
and just,
harder.
Like, devil's advocate to like, you, like the stuff. So I feel like, okay, you take the aptitude test in high school, right? And then they're like, you would make a great astronaut, and you're like, dope, but you don't like go into astronaut training. They're like, you have like, you know, 18 more years of school left. And maybe astronaut's a bad example, but you know, chef or whatever. Yeah. But you can't start down that path. Is my point. You have to continue developing being
like anything
a well-rounded person.
My friend wanted to do something in psychology, and she basically had to have a doctorate, she had to have a PhD in order to make decent money in any kind of field in psychology, if she didn't want to do, you know, any of the other stuff. And like, she couldn't even get an internship without they for a free unpaid internship. They wanted her to have 2 years experience. She was like, how the fuck am I supposed to get internship if no one will take, you know? So depending on the career you want to do, like, you could, sure, you can be a doctor, but are you ready for 20 more years?
If you're at the age where you have a feeling like you know what you want to do and you know what you're going to be good at, there should be a path for you to take to do that, instead of continuing to have to do this like well-roundedness thing. And I think it's important for kids to be well-rounded, and that's why like up through, I would like argue like middle school or even just a little bit of high school, taking the normal spread of classes is important. Because you don't want to be like an uncultured like weirdo. You know, you want to know who the first president of the United States was. You should be able to name that. But it gets to a certain point where it's like you're maturing, you're growing up, and you know what you want to do. And I don't feel like I was given enough opportunity at that age to pursue those things. I felt like I was like forced down the same funnel as everybody else.
Totally.
Right. What college
again, I feel like we probably, all of us, all three of us, just talking to you guys, probably could have been more successful earlier in life had we been given some different options. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, I think the fact that everyone, and this is going back to the COVID,
right?
COVID kind of forced everyone, because you went to school, you went to do all those things, and hey, guess what? This one pandemic kind of screws everything up.
Right. Whatever you went to school for, you can't do anymore. Yeah.
So everyone's like now like, oh, you know what? I used to be passionate at this, and now they're taking that road.
Right. This is my forced opportunity to explore it.
If you were able to do that younger, if it's something that you always thought of, because also sometimes you discover it later in life.
True.
As well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you know early on what you're passionate about and you follow it, that's the best.
Yeah.
I think that's what we would nurture here at home is that.
I mean, even now, we watch JR and we think, oh, look, he really likes to do this kind of thing.
Right.
Let's get him into some of those like classes, or let's get him into, like nurturing it from a really young, like he's 5, so even trying to do it now, because because
you never know what it's going to be.
No.
So they're into it now.
One of the worst case scenario, he just really likes it.
Yeah. And it's just a hobby for him.
Right.
Yeah. Totally.
So how did you get started into like the podcast world? Like, when did that become a thing?
So I just wanted the channel to be well-rounded, honestly. And if you search for laser engraving podcasts, like 2 things come up.
Right.
So, and there's like
hopefully
how many freaking podcasts on like murder mysteries.
Oh man.
Yeah.
True
or
crime,
like, like true crime there's like 50 million.
Totally.
Laser engraving, there's like 2, and like one of them, like the last podcast upload was like a year ago. So I figured, it was more of like a pragmatic decision than like a love for podcasting. It's growing on me though. I am starting to enjoy it. But it was more pragmatic. Like, this would make great clipped content for social media. This would be, and it's an easy way to involve the community. So we bring people in from like our Laser Master Academy. And we just talk to them about like, what the hell are you doing in your garage? Like, we want those stories and that kind of stuff. And then we've been having some good guests come on too, because we have been making relationships with these manufacturers and vendors and marketers and all of that kind of stuff. So we bring them in and we drill them a little bit, but it's good. And we've made a lot of friends doing it. So that's why we've continued doing it, I think, is just because we are making connections and we are meeting people that we like genuinely enjoy hanging out with. And so having them on the Laser Source podcast has become like a really fun part of my job.
I love that.
Yeah. It's chill.
I have, before we get to the normal questions, I have a list of a couple. Let's see. Oh, this was a good one. Explain how Discord works, since most of our personal followers probably don't use it.
Do you remember like AIM or IRC?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
ASL.
like it's a chat room, essentially. And we actually just kind of mixed up the Discord. This is a bad time for this question, because Discord. So it's a chat room, and you have little like hashtagged words and each one is a different chat, right? And the problem with Discord is that people come and they're looking for laser support, so they are all typing in these chat rooms and things just get buried,
right?
So then like me and the staff are like trying to dig through these never-ending infinite messages, but they just added like a forum feature, so now a chat room can be like posts instead of like just a never-ending chat. So it's a little bit difficult, but without overcomplicating it or talking about it for an hour, it's a chat room. It's more for quick communication rather than like organized, discussion, I would say.
And then, so you have like subscribers and stuff on there as well, right?
No, the Discord is more like community oriented.
Okay.
So think more like Facebook group.
Okay.
Kind of where anybody can just kind of post, and there's 5,000 members of the community, but we don't like actively manage it. There's people in there just kind of doing their own thing. They're helping each other out. People are answering questions, asking questions, showing what they're working on and stuff like that. But it's very much kind of like a a free for all. It's not like a, there's an influencer at the top and then a bunch of people underneath that like follow that.
Yeah.
It's more like just kind of like Wild Weston.
Okay.
Yeah. In a good way.
Yeah. See, and that makes sense why it's not really like my thing. Cause like the
that would
chats
drive you
and
crazy.
the forums, I wouldn't do well.
Yeah, for sure.
You need organization.
I do. I'm terrible at it, but I need it.
But you need it in your life.
And then another one that I got from Kathy, I don't know if you know her, Kathy Ray. We call her the testing queen. She's really good at like testing and like getting settings, down where they need to be. Hers was ask him about the difference between, I don't know if it's, MOPA and regular fiber lasers.
Yeah, so MOPA lasers are it's master oscillator power something.
Also, for people who don't know, especially since you mentioned the acronym, laser is an acronym too.
It is.
Do you know it? I don't know it.
It is light amplification. Light amplified something emission
radiation.
Emitted radiation. Yeah, there's an S in that one too.
We'll get back to you guys.
Yeah, it just blindsided me.
Look it up. Google it.
But yeah, I forget all the time. Like I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, "Oh, cool!" And then someone posted it the other day, and there was all these people with like these shocked reacts that it was like an acronym.
Right.
Yeah, and I had forgotten that it was. But anyway, back to the
MOPA is also an acronym that I don't know, and and so it's essentially there's a lot to. This is a technical question. So, so most galvo lasers, big asterisk on that. Most galvo lasers are pulsed lasers. So when you're working with something like a CO2 or a diode, that's a continuous wave laser, which means when it's firing, it is just on until it is not. Right. With fiber lasers in particular, and most other galvo lasers like UV or CO2 galvo, they are pulsed lasers, which means for the entire duration that we look at it and see that it is on, it is actually pulsing like a strobe light. Very, 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 very fast. Like minimum like 10,000 times per second.
Wow.
Right? So we can't see it, but it's pulsing. And the frequency, how often those are pulsing, is something that all fiber lasers have. So you can set it to pulse 10,000 times per second, 30,000 times per second. What you cannot set is how long that pulse lasts for. So those are called Q-switched lasers, generally. I'm generalizing a little bit because otherwise we would be here for, it'd be a 12-hour
we're going to lose
thing.
people. Yeah.
Generally, those are called Q-switched lasers, which means that when the laser does do a flash, right, because it's like a strobe light, when the laser does a flash, the amount of time that the flash is on is set in stone.
Okay.
So it's usually like 200 nanoseconds or 150 nanoseconds. It depends on who makes your laser source. MOPA lasers use a different technology to generate the pulses that allows you to change how long the laser is flashing on for. So you can not only now set how often we are flashing, but how long those flashes take to complete. So generally when you up the pulse width, you're getting more power because it's hitting the material for longer. What the hell does any of that mean?
I was going to say, what are the different applications? Essentially,
it is a fine control dial for your laser power, right?
Okay.
So you have imagine you have 0 to 100% power on your fiber laser. The MOPA will now break each of those percentage points into another 0 to 100%.
Wow.
So it really, really allows you to very finely control how much energy you are applying to the material, which is very important when you're looking at things like synthetics, plastics, right? You're trying to do surface marking without melting a plastic.
Right.
You need to apply very specific amounts of energy at very specific amounts of time to do that without causing a fire or a bubbling purple mess or whatever.
Yeah.
The other thing is, and everybody, this is the big popular one, colors on steel, titanium, things like that, the color marking with fiber lasers. Very popular, very difficult.
That's crazy.
To do.
I didn't even think that was like, I didn't know that was a thing, honestly.
Yeah, generally with ferrous metals, so metals containing iron, that's a possibility. And it's very attractive because you always see videos on like YouTube or social media of it being pulled off flawlessly. What they don't tell you is that it is not just a matter of finding the perfect setting. So you need to find the perfect power within that 1 to 100%. And then you need to find the perfect sub power on your pulse width. Right? Yeah. Because you need to get the pulse width just right. And then you need to still get your speed
max
and
power
frequency.
And min power is enough for me.
Yeah, no, you got at least 4 different parameters you need to, when you get into MOPAs. You're really starting to make a challenge for yourself.
Yeah.
Those aren't even the only things that matter. It's extra difficult to get those colors because everything from the humidity, the current humidity, the temperature of the room, the weather outside, whether or not the Buffalo Bills won their last,
it's like being a sniper.
Like literally everything. Like you breathe wrong, you're not cooling it properly. It will change the results and change.
That's too much anxiety for me.
We can't make yellow because Mercury's in retrograde.
What? For real? I'm not even joking. Like you guys are laughing. I'm being dead ass serious. That would do it. And one of the things that people come to us with all the time is like, how do I get colors on stainless? Hook me up with settings for colors on stainless.
Right.
Getting colors on stainless is not me sending you a file with some parameters.
No, yeah.
You know, it's
is it kind of like CO2 where like that your settings are really machine specific, and environment specific. Like, I can give somebody the settings that I use, but one, you don't know what I'm using it on. You don't know how much I've tested those settings, how well, my laser then transfers those settings. There's like, my friend Liz, who also does tumblers and stuff, her settings are way different than mine. So, but her tumblers look great, but I use those same settings on my same laser and they don't look great. So
no, you're totally right. Like, what does your airflow look like? What's your air assist doing? What kind of power supply is powering your tube? How many milliamps are running through it? Like there's so many different variables. Like just saying I have like 100-watt laser, and I'm using a 1.5 inch lens. That's a nice start, but there are so many more questions that are going to affect how that turns out. And like part of what we offer is like a parameter library as part of like what we have. But like I put in gigantic bold letters at the top of everything all the time. Like mileage is going to vary, and like we're there to help you. We're there to like try you, but you have to walk that last mile alone, And
they're not starting from scratch, but they have to do the finishing.
Yeah, and when you get into galvo lasers, it's just infinitely more complex because we're adding frequency and the MOPA users are adding pulse width. So you're just adding 2 more variables to everything all of the time.
Yeah.
And again, those ranges vary from machine to machine, laser source to laser source. It's a lot, I don't think people, that people think that there's just like like they're putting a number into a padlock, and if they get it right, like it unlocks, and that is not the situation. So totally.
So now is a good time to ask you what advice would you give to a new or struggling laser owner?
Well, we covered get a bookkeeper, so I hope that you've already started Googling if you're listening right now. I hope that you're looking for a bookkeeper. Once you have that done, I would say, what did I do when I started? I went to Walmart and filled a shopping cart, mark everything. Even if you know what specific thing you want to be working on, or you have a specific project or product that you want to sell online, whatever, literally go to Walmart, fill a shopping cart with everything that you could possibly think to want to mark, and just like mess it all up. Just fail at as many things as you possibly can as early as possible. That you're going to learn a lot. The second thing would be make friends in the community.
Totally huge.
So on my podcast, we preach about this all the time, and I'm very passionate about it. Everybody in this industry treats it with a mentality of scarcity. We are all competing against each other. There's only so many customers out there to buy our stuff. That is not the case. That's a fucking lie, and it's fear mongering.
Yes.
Okay. The fact of the matter is the people that work together are successful. We just had 2 of our LMA members win a preliminary round at the Atlanta Tech Village. So they just won a $13,000 prize for their startup idea because they met on the LMA and decided to start working together, and they joined forces. And now they've got a startup business, and they won that. And next year they're going to the finals where they have a chance to win $1 million.
Yeah.
Awesome. Shout out to Alex Campbell. But like, seriously, you will do better in this industry working with other people.
Yeah. The reason I have everything I have is because I found the right friends.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I started in the beginning, I knew no one with a laser, but I met people from the groups. And Heather, who is like my laser bestie, she's also my mentor. She's the reason I decided to open up an Etsy shop because it was too overwhelming for me on my own. But she pushed me and helped me, answer the questions that were scary that I didn't feel I had answers to anywhere. And her and Emily are the reason, they bullied me into doing, my design course. And that's not something I would have even considered because I wouldn't have had the confidence on my own to do it. And
Emily definitely has a way of momming you into doing stuff.
Does.
Well, she does. She's that mom with the laser.
That's why we call her mom.
Yeah.
we literally message her Mom, hey Mom. Yeah.
I've got my fair share of mom lectures from Emily.
I bet.
Yeah.
She can't help it.
That said, and Emily will attest to this. I'm sure you guys will attest to this, and I preach this all the time too on our shows. The best way to learn is to teach.
Yeah.
If you want to learn how to do something, try to teach it to somebody else. Try to help people with their problems.
Yes.
This is not something that I just say to get people in my communities to help each other so I don't have to do it. I'm busy enough, guys. Okay. I don't need excuses not to do things. I've got a billion things that need to be edited. I've got a billion people I need to talk to. I'm telling you, from somebody who did this for 8 years, working at a job and learned very, very slowly. The minute that I started learning was when I started teaching people how to do stuff on YouTube. When I started making those videos, when I started reaching out on forums and answering questions, that's when I learned.
Yeah. Because if you don't know it, then you go looking for the answer. Now you've learned something too.
I think teaching something challenges your own understanding of it. Because when you're trying to explain it to somebody else, what necessarily just clicks in your head that you instantly kind of be able to put the pieces together, when you have to turn that into words that another human being has to understand, you need some kind of clairvoyance to to be able to do that. And that's a developed skill, and it comes from teaching people. So help people. And you'll gain from that. Help people.
Even just creating my course, I learned a lot about excuse me. I learned a lot about silhouette that I didn't know because I used it to what works for me, but now that I'm teaching other people how to use it, I need to make sure that I'm covering as much as possible, not just solely what I use and what works for me. So I had to brush up on, different, tools and menus and stuff that were in silhouette and, mention, hey, I don't use this, but this, look at what this can do. And I learned I didn't even know that was there because it just wasn't something I had exposed myself to, but in making sure that, I was sharing as much as possible, I learned stuff as well. So that's definitely huge in personal growth. And
the reason that's my advice to newcomers is because it's really easy to get sucked into that negative, hateful, competitive, especially the second you step on Facebook. Everybody who knows me that watches my channel knows I fucking hate Facebook with a passion because all of the groups on there, it's just bannings and drama and fucking people being nasty and here's the thing. I used to say this a lot too. I have a lot of opinions. Everybody still acts like fucking fiber lasers are a secret.
Yeah.
They think that they've uncovered some kind of super secret special sauce that nobody else understands, and they're going to keep their settings all to themselves, and they're going to have this futuristic edge on the competition that nobody else is going to have. I have a wake-up call for everybody who thinks that is the case. These things are out there. They are coming. They are sitting in people's garages next to their drill presses and their power drills and their Cricut, vinyl cutters. everything, it always happens cyclically. We saw it first with vinyl cutting, right? And we saw the Cricut come out. Now everybody's got a Cricut in their house.
That's how literally a lot of us started. Yeah.
Yep. Literally everybody. Then 3D printers, right? The democratization of technology is what we call that. And, it started, 3D printers were $4,000.
Right.
And now you can pick one up on, Amazon for $200.
Right.
Okay. People are 3D printing.
Yeah.
Then we saw it with CO2 lasers. CO2 lasers were very, very expensive. And now you can pick them up. I mean, if you go for like the K40, $400,
Right. Yeah.
But the diode evolution, right? Have we like seen this mass entrance into the market on Amazon of diode lasers and people being able to mark organics, and it is coming with the fibers.
Yeah.
It's coming with things
and
like
the evolution of Lightburn joining fibers as well. That was huge. I know a lot of people, what held people back from fibers was the software and how it was so difficult for a lot of people to manage or understand. And so the addition of Lightburn for fibers it's going to open it up immensely.
And that's absolutely. And that's part of this democratization of that technology. And that is your wake up call. That if you still think that competing, hiding, sneaking around, like you've got some kind of secret that other people don't understand, you are mistaken, and you will fail with that attitude. So don't get sucked into it.
I agree.
Come in with a cooperative attitude.
Well, and having that community. So we have these lasers, right? And I mean, so in business, if your laser or your business is centered around one piece of machinery, typically they tell you to have two of them because you need a backup to what you're currently using. But the fact is that, it's not easy to have like a quote backup, like second laser in your home or in your business, because they are expensive. Even though they're more affordable, they're still expensive. Having that community makes it so that you don't have to have a second laser in your house or your garage. You have a second laser in the friends and community that you have that help you if and when, I shouldn't say if, because it's more when. It's when something's going to happen. And it usually happens when you really need it not to, at least in my experience. And my community has saved me in that situation every single time. And it's people who, if you think that way, would be considered competition because they're local laser owners. We all do something different. But even if we did do something the same, we wouldn't really be competing for the same customer. You know what I mean? So you gotta. I don't think. I mean, we have I think we're up to 8 billion people on the planet right now. Right.
Can you even fathom what that number is? Do you have any idea how big of a number 8 billion is? When we're talking about human beings, it is astronomically huge.
Right.
And there is no shortage of customers domestically or internationally, online or locally.
Yeah.
If you are not succeeding, it is not due to a lack of customers, and it is not due to competition.
Yep.
Don't even come at me with that, because we have how many goddamn Starbucks are on every corner, and all of those Starbucks stay in business. They all sell the same exact thing. Okay.
Even when they're across the street from each other.
Right.
Yeah. And they're all making money.
Right.
And they are literally selling the same exact thing.
Right.
So there's 8 billion people.
Yep.
Okay. Think about that. It is not a scarcity mindset. It is not good for your business.
Yeah.
Make friends, get out there, join communities, participate, help, teach, and in so, teaching, learn, and you will grow and you will be successful. And that would be my number one thing.
So speaking of
my number two thing, go get a bookkeeper.
Yes. So speaking of teaching, where can people find you if they want to know more about what you guys offer? Well,
here's the special thing about Laser Everything. I don't like paywalls. I've never liked paywalls, ever. And so everything that we produce of value is published on our YouTube channel for free for everyone. And you can find that at youtube.com/lasereverything. We have the LMA. It's the Laser Master Academy. And despite its name, which is a bit of a misnomer, we don't really teach anything on there. There's a little bit better organization of the material. I keep things in neater piles there. But really, those people, the people that support Laser Everything on the LMA, are financially supporting all of the content we put out for free.
Right. Yep.
Because again, I don't like
so similar to like
things.
our Patreon.
Yep.
And I've tried doing it. Like I've made like a 4-hour course on photo engraving.
Yeah.
And then I like go to upload it to the LMA and I'm like, I can't just give this to these guys. You know, like I have to put it on the regular YouTube channel. So I stopped trying to do it. So I publish everything now. Yeah. And the people that are there are just kind of there voluntarily.
Yep.
They get behind the scenes stuff. They get bonus episodes of the podcast, bonus live streams here and there. But it's really those people like are there for altruistic reasons, which kind of warms my heart.
Totally.
You know, it's kind of dope.
Yeah.
So we have that. If you want to sign up for that, you can go check that out. But really, it's just supporting the content we publish for everyone for free on the channel. And then our website. I like libraries, and I like like big giant collections of info, like just data. So that's kind of what I'm trying to transform the website into. So we have spec sheets for download. All of the EasyCAD softwares, drivers, like manuals. I have like a crazy manual collection that I'm trying to grow. So we have like manuals on there, links to suppliers, resources, learning resources like Photonics Online, just a bunch of stuff that you can kind of like sift through.
Nice.
We have a merch shop, and then I'm trying to think if there's anything else relevant that I'm going to kick myself in the foot, kick myself in the butt for later. But I don't, I mean, just go to the YouTube channel. I plug shit all the time on my own channel. So watch a video and you'll hear me do it. But today, well, this is recorded. Never mind. We do. If you're listening to this, it's already published.
Last week.
We just toured the Light Object facility out in Sacramento, California. And that was sick, and I'm publishing that today. So cool. That'll be up when you guys hear this podcast.
Yeah, so that was uploaded last week.
Yeah.
last week. Thank you. And I think that's it. I think that's all I got.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Thanks.
Great.
Thanks for spending your time with us, Alex. And
no problem.
As always, thank you guys for watching and listening to us. And it's been another great episode of the Riley Black Project with Crystal and John.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Maybe we're all done.